thought I would find myself walking alone through the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Like most people, I grew up seeing those haunting images, abandoned buildings, the rusting Ferris wheel in Pripyat, the gas masks scattered across school desks. But to me, it was always something distant, a tragedy frozen in time, locked away behind warning signs and barbed wire. The man who told me about it was a local. He wasn't a professional guide, just someone who knew the area and claimed he had been inside dozens of times. He called himself a stalker, not in the criminal sense, but in the way people here use the word. A kind of urban explorer, someone who slips past security to see what remains of the zone firsthand. He told me things about Chernobyl that I had never heard before. Stories of strange lights moving through the woods at night, of voices echoing through empty buildings, of shadows that didn't belong. I laughed when he said it, but I felt that pull, that curiosity I couldn't ignore. And so, I decided I would go myself. Not with a tour group, not with an official guide, alone. I told no one my full plan. I only said I was traveling to Ukraine. What I really wanted was to feel the silence of that dead city with my own ears, to see the places frozen in time with my own eyes. When I finally slipped past the checkpoint under the cover of night, the first thing I noticed was the stillness. The forest swallowed everything. No hum of traffic, no distant voices. Just my own footsteps on the dirt road and the constant chirp of my Geiger counter strapped to my chest. The device clicked quietly, reminding me the air here still carried invisible dangers. The zone is vast, nearly 1,000 square miles of abandoned villages, cracked highways, and overgrown fields. My first destination was Pripyat, the ghost city built for the workers of the power plant. Walking through the outskirts, I saw collapsed houses and rusted cars, half buried in weeds. Nature had taken back everything. When I reached the city limits, the silence grew heavier. The apartment blocks loomed above me like giant tombstones, their windows hollow and black. I walked past a mural still clinging to a wall, bright paint fading under decades of rain and wind. An image of hope, rotting in a place abandoned by hope. My flashlight cut through the darkness as I entered the city center. The famous Ferris wheel stood tall in the moonlight, its yellow cabin swaying softly in the breeze. For a moment, I just stared at it, the most iconic relic of Pripyat, built for a May Day celebration that never came. The air around it felt wrong. Still, I kept walking. I entered the amusement park first. Rust creaked as I passed by the bumper cars, their metal frames eaten by rust, their paint almost gone. My footsteps echoed against cracked asphalt. That's when I heard the first sound. It was faint, almost too soft to notice. A laugh. High-pitched. Childlike. I froze, every hair on my body standing up. I told myself it was the wind, twisting through broken glass, but it didn't sound like the wind. It sounded like it came from behind me. I turned slowly, shining my flashlight into the shadows of the trees and rusted rides. Nothing. Just silence. I kept moving though my heart was hammering. The laughter lingered in my head, long after the sound had faded. From the amusement park, I made my way toward the school. Everyone had seen the pictures. Classrooms frozen mid-lesson, textbooks left open, dolls and gas masks scattered on the floor. But being there in person was different. The main hallway stretched before me, lined with broken doors. My boots crunched on shards of glass. When I entered one classroom, I saw the remains of a world that had ended in an instant. Desks overturned, chalk still faint on the blackboard. A child's shoe lay in the corner, impossibly small. I raised my flashlight and noticed something carved into the wall, hidden behind layers of peeling paint. Words, not in Russian or Ukrainian, in English. It said, "Don't listen to them." My stomach dropped. Who had written it, and why in English, here in this forgotten school? As I moved deeper into the building, the atmosphere grew heavier. My Geiger counter clicked faster near certain rooms, warning me of radiation hotspots. I passed through quickly, but the weight of the silence pressed down harder and harder. Then I heard it again. Laughter. Not one voice this time, several. Children, whispering, giggling, as if playing just out of sight. I spun around, shining my light down the hallway. Nothing. The sound cut off instantly, as though it had never been there. I tried to tell myself it was the building shifting or the wind slipping through cracks, but the sound had been too sharp, too real. When I entered the gymnasium, the floorboards groaned under my weight. Basketball hoops still clung to the walls, though one had collapsed, its rim twisted on the ground. My flashlight beam slid across faded paint on the walls, slogans in Cyrillic urging students toward glory. And then I saw them. Drawings, childlike, carved into the peeling paint. Stick figures, crude and uneven. At first, they looked harmless. Children holding hands, a house, a tree. But the longer I looked, the more I noticed something wrong. The eyes were too big, the mouths open in jagged circles like silent screams. My flashlight flickered. I smacked it, my pulse racing. The shadows shifted across the walls, and for a moment, just for a moment, I thought I saw movement in the corner. Something small, watching me. When the beam steadied again, the corner was empty. I left the school quickly, my nerves stretched thin. Outside, the air felt colder, heavier. My breath puffed white in the moonlight. I told myself it was just the stories I'd heard, the power of suggestion, my brain turning silence into voices. But deep down, I knew something was wrong here. I pushed on, heading toward the hospital.
The Pripyat hospital is infamous among explorers. Many of the first firefighters who responded to the reactor meltdown were brought here. Their uniforms, still dangerously radioactive, were thrown into the basement. No one dares to go down there. I stayed far from the basement, but even on the upper floors, the air felt poisonous. My Geiger counter chattered constantly, faster than before. I covered my mouth with a mask and tried to breathe shallow. The hallways twisted endlessly. Rusted beds lined the walls. Cabinets stood open, spilling yellowed medical files across the floor. A wheelchair sat in the center of one hallway, perfectly placed as though waiting for me. As I passed, a cold draft swept over me, though no window was open. My breath fogged in the beam of my flashlight. And then I heard it. A whisper. Close. Stay. I spun around, the light darting across empty hallways. Nothing. My chest pounded as I forced myself to keep moving. The deeper I went, the louder the whispers grew. Not words I could understand, not always in English, not always in one voice. Dozens of them, layered, pressing against my ears. At one point, I entered what looked like a children's ward. Tiny beds lined the walls, their metal frames rusting, their sheets long rotted away. On one bed lay a doll, its glass eyes reflecting my light. And then, it moved. Not much. Just a tilt of the head, so slight I thought I imagined it, but I swear I saw it. I stumbled back, nearly tripping. The whisper stopped. Silence pressed in, suffocating. I didn't wait to see more. I turned and fled the hospital, my footsteps echoing like gunshots. Outside, the city seemed darker than before. Every building loomed like a watcher. Every shadow seemed to shift when I looked away. I just wanted to leave, to find the road and run until the zone was behind me. But as I reached the edge of the city, I stopped because I wasn't alone. There in the middle of the street stood a figure, small, child-sized, perfectly still. At first I thought it really was a child, maybe some local who wandered too far. But as my flashlight beam landed on it, I knew it wasn't. Its body was wrong, too thin, limbs bending unnaturally, its face pale, featureless except for a wide black mouth stretched too far across its head. I froze, my body refusing to move. The figure tilted its head, watching me. And then from behind me, the laughter returned, dozens of voices, children giggling, whispering, closing in. I spun in circles, my light darting across empty streets. No one there, just the sound of children surrounding me. When I turned back, the figure was gone. The street was empty. I didn't think. I ran. I don't remember how I got out of the city. One moment I was lost in endless blocks of concrete, the next I was in the forest, sprinting toward the checkpoint. I didn't stop until the zone was far behind me. But here's the thing. When I checked my recorder later, the one I carried in my pocket the whole time, I found something I can't explain. Hours of silence. Just my footsteps, my breathing. But near the end, right before I left Pripyat, there was something else. A child's voice. Clear. Close. We'll find you. And then, laughter. I've never gone back, and I never will.